difficult ending to a beautiful life. But it's the hard reality.
A day after a violent episode at a Cobb County assisted living facility ended with a 72-year-old with Alzheimer's being hospitalized, Smyrna police arrived to investigate. They gathered no physical evidence, made no request for records, and their brief investigation seemed to be entirely based on the facility director's account.
So, I don't really know if this is a crime.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure I'm trying to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
So, we have a resident that has dementia.
Gotcha.
So, yesterday, he became very agitated and punched the caregiver, like right here across the jaw. And the caregiver's immediate reaction was to push him back. And unfortunately, when he pushed him back, he fell into the wall, hit his head, had to go to the hospital and get 4 stitches.
18 days later, the resident Ronald West died from complications from a head injury suffered in the scuffle with an employee. An autopsy would later classify his death as a homicide. The case is emblematic of problems families across Georgia face after breakdowns in care at assisted living communities or large personal care homes, an AJC investigation found. Police can be quick to accept the story of caregivers when incidents involve dementia patients and miss signs of potential elder abuse or neglect because of lack of training.
If the guy with dementia guy or girl with dementia didn't get pushed, okay, and hit his head, we wouldn't even be doing a report.
Right, right.
The only reason we would do a report is to kind of keep y'all safe.
Regulators, who are often overwhelmed and short-staffed, also fail to conduct thorough and timely reviews. In the Provident case, the home's decision to initially withhold some information from West's son, the lackluster police investigation, and the failure of state regulators to conduct their own on-site investigation mean West's family has been largely on its own to seek answers. Up to the time of the incident, Job West said his father's care at the facility had been good, and the facility seemed to like him. So when Elaine Austin, the executive director, called to say his father had an accident and was in the hospital, Job West said he had no reason to be suspicious.
So I got a call, and they said that Dad had an accident. When I came to the hospital, it looked like he sort of had a little bit of a black eye to a certain extent. His elbow was all busted up, and he had a crack in his skull that was 2 inches long, maybe, in the back of his head. And so, honestly, didn't think much about it. And then I got a text, I think the following day, about coming over and talking to the manager about what had occurred.
And actually, I'm talking to our resident's son at 11, just to tell him the full story. Like last night, we just let him know that your dad had a fall, and we're sending him to the hospital. But I asked him to come in today so we could talk about it.
That's when I found out that supposedly my father was asked to move chairs during dinner, and that my father punched or pushed one of the staff members. And in turn, the staff member pushed my father, shoved him. This is all from what I've been told, but basically he fell from the push and struck his head on the floor and cracked his head open. Basically, from the point of my father hitting his head, I think it was a total of 19 days, my father was dead.
Job West had a nagging skepticism about the facility's story and asked the Cobb medical examiner for an autopsy. When the results came back several months later, the word homicide stung him. His father died, the medical examiner ruled, of complications from blunt trauma to the head that came from a fall during the altercation. While that doesn't necessarily mean he was the victim of a crime, the determination meant that West died because of the actions of another person. While the facility told police that Monty Bowser, a 24-year-old caregiver, was acting in self-defense, Bowser's separation notice said he was fired for, quote, violation of policies, disorderly conduct, and violence-free workplace.
I felt like I did my father due diligence. I felt like I made the right decision for him. I felt like I was doing what he would have wanted me to do. And that might be the hardest part of this, that ultimately I'm the one who signed him up to be there and never would have imagined that my father would have lost his life directly related to an incident that took place at this facility. Wasn't what I didn't. Dementia and Alzheimer's is a horrible disease, but my father's life should have not ended at the hands of a staff member at that facility.